I made more money in the 10 years after I turned 60 than I did in the 20 before it. That sounds like good news. Most of it wasn't. Look, there's a trap that successful men walk into after 60, and it's the most expensive one out there because the men who fall in are the ones who think they're too smart for it. I thought I was too smart for it. I'd already been broke once. I figured I'd learned everything broke had to teach me. I hadn't. There's a second lesson that only comes after you've won. And nobody tells you about it because the guys who learn it don't like to admit they needed to. Here's the thing. When you've spent your whole life building, you don't have an off switch. You just don't. And the day comes when the building is done, the number is more than enough, and you should be sitting back. But you can't sit back because sitting back feels like dying. Nobody warns you about this part. Everybody warns you about the opposite. Don't run out of money, save more, watch the fees. Good advice, all of it, from most people. But it's the wrong advice for the man who already won. For him, the danger isn't spending too much. It's that he can't stop trying to win a game that's already over, and he'll burn the trophy trying to win it twice. So you keep playing. And that's the trap. That's the whole thing right there. The trap isn't losing your money. The trap is not knowing how to stop trying to make more of it. I'm going to tell you exactly how it got me. Names, numbers, the dumb stuff included. Because if you built something, if you're one of those guys who can't turn it off, this is for you. And Barbara would say I'm the worst case she's ever seen. So you're learning from an expert. Let me back up. I went broke at 31. Real broke. Not we have to cut back broke. Broke like the car got taken from the driveway while I was standing in the window holding a cup of coffee, pretending I didn't see it happen. I remember the night it all went down. Barbara was pregnant with our second. I sat on the bathroom floor, actual floor, tile, 2 a.m, doing math that didn't have an answer. There was no number that made it work. And I made myself a promise that night that I'd never feel that again. Never. Whatever it took. That promise saved me. It got me off the floor and back to work. I rebuilt. Took me years. I started the business. I'm not going to bore you with what it was. It doesn't matter. What matters is I built it from nothing, and I sold it when I was 62 for more money than the kid on that bathroom floor could have imagined. But that promise, never again, I want you to remember it because it's the hero of the first half of this story and the villain of the second half. The same vow that built everything is the thing that almost wrecked it. Hold that thought. I should have been done. By every number that exists, I was done. Set. The kind of set where you don't check the price of anything anymore. And that, my friend, is exactly when the trouble started. Because here's what nobody tells you about getting the number. The number doesn't turn off the engine that got you the number. The engine keeps running. And an engine running with nothing to pull starts tearing up the gears. So let me walk you through the trap, the pieces of it, the way it got me, one move at a time after 60, when I should have known better and didn't. There's 5 pieces. The one more deal itch, risking what you have for what you don't need, letting the number become your scoreboard, turning into the family bank, and the quiet one at the end, forgetting how to spend a dime of it. I fell into every single one. Stay with me because the last one's the one that actually wakes a man up. The first piece is the itch, the one more deal itch. I sold the business on a Tuesday. By Friday, I was bored out of my skull. By the next month, I was taking meetings I had no business taking, with guys half my age, about deals I didn't need, in industries I didn't understand. I told Barbara it was to stay sharp. That was the line, stay sharp. She looked at me over her glasses and she said, "Alan, you're not staying sharp. You're scared of the quiet." And I got annoyed, the way you get annoyed when somebody's right. Because she was right. I wasn't chasing deals because I needed them. I was chasing them because without them, I didn't know who I was. 40 years I was the guy who was building something. Take the something away and I was just a guy. And I did not like being just a guy. There was a stretch where I had 4 of these things going at once. 4. I had a whiteboard in my home office. Barbara called it the situation room, and I'd stand in front of it at 6 in the morning with my coffee, moving things around, feeling like a man again. Meanwhile, the actual money, the real money, was sitting safe in boring accounts I never looked at. I wasn't tending to what I had. I was out hunting things I didn't need so I'd have something to hunt. That itch costs men a fortune. Not because the deals are bad, although some of them are terrible. It costs them because they're playing a game they already won, with money they can't afford to lose, for a prize that's just their own name said a little louder. And the worst part is how good it feels. That's what makes it a trap and not just a mistake. A mistake feels bad. This feels great, right up until it doesn't. You feel young. You feel needed. You feel like the guy in the window finally got the last laugh. It's a drug, and like every drug, the high is borrowed against something. The second piece is the part where you risk what you have for what you don't need. I'm going to say that again because it's the heart of the whole thing. After 60, the trap is risking what you have and need for something you don't have and don't need. I had a friend, call him Marty. Marty did everything right his whole life. Sold his company about the same time I sold mine. And Marty got into something. A sure thing. Real estate deal, syndication, the kind of thing that comes wrapped in a nice dinner and a slideshow. He put in a number that I'm not going to say out loud because it would make you sick. It went to 0. Not down. 0. The guys running it weren't even crooks, not really, just optimists with other people's money, which is worse. And Marty, who was set for 3 lifetimes, is now 71 and back to watching the price of things. I had lunch with him a few months back. He ordered the cheaper fish. I saw him do it. This is a man who used to pick up the check for the whole table without looking at it. Now he orders the cheaper fish. For what? He didn't need that money. He needed to feel like a player. The deal was just the thing he bought to feel it, and it cost him the one thing money's actually for, not having to think about it. I almost did the same. I was one signature away from my own Marty story. What stopped me wasn't my own good sense. It was Barbara, standing in the kitchen, asking me one question. If this goes to 0, she said, does it change our life? And I said, no. And she said, then why are we even talking about it? And she walked out of the room. I didn't sign. The third piece is uglier, and it's the one no man wants to say. The number becomes the scoreboard for whether you're still worth anything. When you build money your whole life, the money keeps score for you. More money, you're doing good, you're winning. And that's fine when you're 40 and clawing your way up. It's poison when you're 65 and you've already arrived, because now the number is everything you are. It goes up, you feel like a man. It goes down, even a little, even normal market down, and you feel like that kid watching the car leave the driveway. I'd check the accounts 3-4 times a day. For what? I wasn't going to spend it. I was just taking my own temperature. Am I still okay? Am I still somebody? Refresh the page and find out. I'll tell you exactly how bad it got. My grandson, he was maybe 6, he's showing me a drawing he made, proud of it, standing right next to my chair. And I'm nodding, saying, that's great, buddy. And the whole time my eyes are sliding over to the screen to check a number that did not matter and was not going to change anything in either of our lives. A 6-year-old with a crayon drawing, and I couldn't give him 2 minutes without checking the score. I think about that one a lot. That's the day I knew something was wrong with me and not with the market. That's no way to live. And it's a particular sickness of men like me. Men who measured themselves in dollars for so long they forgot there was any other ruler. The fourth piece is the family piece, and I'll be honest, this one I'm still working on. When you've got it, everybody knows you've got it, and you become the bank. The kid needs a down payment. The brother-in-law's got an idea. The nephew's starting something. And you say yes every time, because the money doesn't mean anything to you anymore, so why not? But here's what I learned the hard way. When you hand a man money to fix his life, you don't fix his life. You just take a little of his backbone with you on the way out. I bankrolled a young relative, I won't say who, 3 times. 3. And every time I thought I was helping. What I was really doing was telling him he couldn't do it himself. The 4th time he asked, Barbara made me say no. Hardest no of my life. It was also the first real thing I ever did for him. The money was easy to give. That was the problem. It cost me nothing, so I thought it was worth nothing. But the giving was doing damage because I was using my checkbook to dodge a harder conversation. And Barbara would say, and she's sharper than me, always has been, I married up and I know it, she'd say, Alan, you're not being generous. Generous cost you something. You're being lazy with your love and calling it help. That one stung. It stung because it was true. Writing a check was the easy version of caring. Sitting down and actually helping the kid figure out his life, that was the expensive version, and I'd been too cheap to pay it. There's a 5th piece, and it's quiet, and it might be the worst. You forget how to spend it. This is the cruel joke at the end of the road. You spend 40 years learning to make it and save it and grow it, and you get so good at not spending that when the time finally comes, when you've got the money and the years are getting short, you can't open your hand. The muscle's gone the other way. Barbara wanted to take a trip, a real one, the kind we used to say someday about. And I caught myself, 67 years old, more money than we'll ever spend, hesitating over the cost of the flights. Hesitating. And I heard it. I heard how insane that was. A man who'll risk a fortune on a stranger's slideshow, flinching at the price of taking his own wife somewhere nice. That's the trap closing all the way. You'll gamble for ego and pinch for joy. You'll bet big to feel like a winner and go cheap on the only things that were ever the point. We took the trip. 3 weeks. I won't tell you where because it'll sound like bragging, and that's not the point. The point is I sat on a balcony with Barbara on about the 2nd evening, watching the light go down, and she reached over and took my hand and she said, There you are. I've been looking for you for about 10 years. And I had to look away because she was right and because I'd nearly missed it. I'd nearly traded all of this for the feeling of one more win. I'm telling you that part so you know there's a way out. But I had to see the trap first. You can't climb out of a hole you keep calling a foundation. So here's where I've landed, and I'm still landing because this isn't finished. A man doesn't fix 40 years of habit in one trip to a balcony. What I do now is I ask myself one question before any deal, any check, any move. Barbara's question, really. If this goes to 0, does it change our life? If the answer's no, then I'm not allowed to risk losing sleep over it, and I'm not allowed to chase it just to feel something. And if the answer's yes, if it could actually hurt us, then there is no reason on God's earth I should be touching it at my age. Either way, the answer is usually leave it alone. Turns out leave it alone is the hardest trade a builder ever makes. The hardest thing a successful man ever has to learn is that the game changes after you win it. The skills that got you here, the drive, the never enough, the swing at everything, those same skills will wreck you on the back 9 if you don't put a few of them down. The work of the first half of your life is getting more. The work of the second half is figuring out what it was all for. And those are not the same job. They're barely even the same man. I built a fortune so my family wouldn't have to worry. And then I spent years so worried about the fortune that I became the thing I was trying to protect them from. That's the trap, not going broke, staying scared after you've already made it. Let me leave you with this. The most dangerous moment in a man's financial life isn't when he's broke. I've been broke, real broke. You'd think that's the bottom, but at least when you're broke, the road only goes one way, up. No, the most dangerous moment is the moment right after he's made it, when he's still running like he's broke, still swinging like he's behind, still keeping score in a game that's already over. That man can lose everything chasing a feeling. And he'll do it with a smile, because he'll call it ambition right up until the day it's called something else. I've watched it happen to better men than me. The drive that builds the castle is the same drive that burns it down if nobody ever teaches you when to set it down. And nobody does. That's the part that gets me. We teach young men how to want. We never teach old men how to stop. Let me ask you something, and I mean it. If you've done well, if you've built something and you're past 60, what's the thing you can't stop doing even though you don't need to anymore? The deal you keep chasing. The number you keep checking. Tell me down in the comments. Be honest. I just told you mine, so don't leave me hanging up here. And if any of this landed, if you saw yourself in it even a little, do me a favor and hit that like button. There's a lot of guys our age too proud to admit this stuff, and the more this gets around, the more of them get to hear it from a guy who's been there, instead of learning it the hard way. And if you've got a friend, a Marty, somebody about to sign something, send this to him before he does. If you want to stick around, go ahead and subscribe. I'm just a guy who made every one of these mistakes telling you about them so you can make fewer. That seems like a fair trade to me. All right, that's enough out of me. Take care of your money and don't let it take care of you.